Good evening. This is the regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of Socorro ISD held today at April 16th, 2019. It is 6:04 p.m. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Isla Morales, a third grader from O'Shea Kelleher.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Isla, you did a great job. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes, sir.
before we get started, may I just make a couple of comments?
Absolutely.
You know, I think I had the fortune, I think my parents, my mom specifically, does not live in the Socorro district. She lives outside the Socorro district, and while, you know, I won't identify that particular district, but I had the opportunity when I went to go visit her to pass by a couple of campuses that are not in the Socorro district, and I just wanted to take a moment to express my appreciation for our maintenance and operations staff and our custodial staff as well. It's just, I pass by our campuses all the time. You know, I pick up my daughters at our campuses, and they're always well manicured on the outside, well maintained on the inside. You know, our campuses serve as a social point in our communities, and we live close to them. And I think we often forget, you know, that it can quickly become an eyesore if it's not properly maintained. And driving by, unfortunately, some of those other campuses reminded me of that, because they did. They unfortunately looked neglected. The weeds were overgrown, the fences were falling down, there were broken windows. You know, it looked like no one was going to those schools anymore, and it was kind of sad. And so I really felt a sense of relief and a sense of pride, and glad that, you know what, those of us who live close to our campuses, those who drop our kids off every day, you know, can feel good that our campuses are well taken care of, and there's people working real hard to do those things. So I just wanted to say thank you, because it's really easy to go unnoticed, but I know there's a lot of people who take a lot of pride in doing the things that they do. And when I was growing up, my grandpa was a custodian at South Loop Elementary, and I know he took a lot of pride in what he did. So I just wanted to say thank you, because it does take a lot of pride, and it takes a lot of hard work to do those things. And I really appreciate it, and I'm sure those who drive by our schools and the kids that attend it, you know, really appreciate it too. So thanks, Ms. Rodriguez.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Nájera. And again, I think we ought to give it. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Superintendent's comments. Dr. Espinosa.
Yes, Vice President Rodriguez, members of the board, I'd like to extend a happy belated birthday to our trustee, Mr. Gary Gándara. His special day was on April 13th, so happy birthday, Mr. Gándara.
21, 21.
You don't look a day over 50.
We wish you a year filled with good luck, good health, and much more happiness,
Thank you,
Mr. Gándara.
Gracias.
Happy birthday. All right, I am also extremely excited to report that the Socorro Independent School District reached a tremendous milestone last week. We officially have 47,000 students in our school district. 47,000. Student number 47,000 registered at Rojas Elementary and was highlighted along with his family as we celebrated our district's growth. So Socorro ISD, in spite of the competition, we continue to offer endless opportunities and treat and educate our students as our own. We will continue to thrive. So let's give Team SISD a large round of applause for student number 47,000. We also have more excitement coming up at our Teacher of the Year Gala, which will take place on Saturday, April 27th at the El Paso Convention Center. This is one of our district's most memorable events in which we get to honor our heroes in the classroom. So congratulations to all of our teachers of the year, and we look forward, and I look forward to recognizing them at that banquet. And lastly, our school district will be closed this Friday, April 19th, in observance of Good Friday. So I'd like to wish everyone a safe and a happy Easter holiday. Enjoy much deserved break with your family and friends. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Espinosa. Next item on the agenda, board honors, Mr. Escobar.
Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Espinosa. My name is Daniel Escobar, Chief Communications Officer for the district, and it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's recognitions. In fact, you could remain seated for our first presentation, which will be led by Richard Ortega, Director of Special Education.
Good evening, Dr. Espinosa, Vice President Rodriguez, board members. My name is Richard Ortega. I'm the Director of Special Education. And tonight we have a very special presentation. April is known as Autism Awareness Month. And so tonight we have students from throughout the district that will be doing a presentation. We also have some of our teachers here tonight, as well as our autism specialist. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Diane Flores, our autism specialist.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight, I don't want to take a lot of time because this is very exciting. We don't have a lot of pictures, but we have a very powerful message: love with endless opportunities. I get a little emotional because autism is very dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about it. Here in Socorro, we have 697 students identified with an autism spectrum disorder. And we're growing, we continue to grow, but we take a lot of pride, and we couldn't take a lot of pride without you affording us those opportunities to have the programs that we have here in Socorro. When military families come in, this is the choice. This is the district that they are recommended to attend, SISD. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for those opportunities. I would like to introduce to you Andrew Gardner, a student from Horizon Heights, and he attends our Access Classroom program. And Andrew is going to read a poem for you all. And when he's reading the poem, our families will stand up. And then after the poem, they have a small gift for you. Okay? I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Andrew. Yes.
Hello. My name's Andrew, and the title of this poem is Love with Endless Opportunity. I am the misunderstood lyrics to a beautiful melody, the misinterpreted message of pure expression and reaction, the mystery of all that lies behind the known visible galaxy, hidden behind a physical composition that the world outside labels as normal. Typical, I stumble with bewilderment on such a complex notion, surrounded by the pressuring realities of elaborative expectations. But here, in this place, the world comes together slowly, piece by piece, like millions of isolated, calculated, unique pixels, coming as one to create this vibrant, distinctive image that embarks on the undying possibilities of perfection. Here, in this place, I thrive to manifest into the existence of extraordinary. Here in this place, I am discovered, uplifted, regarded, and protected. Here, in this place, I am nurtured with exceeding exceptionality, knowing that my journey and my determination to excel has been created here in this place by love with endless opportunities.
it's a beautiful poem. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you
very
guys
much.
so very much.
I have you can take one of them, son. We have right down there. One of them.
Trustees, Dr. Espinosa, if you wouldn't mind coming to the front for a photo with our amazing students.
Gary, take the phone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the photos that are taken by our district photographer, Mr. Largo, we'll make them available to Mr. Ortega and the team, as well as post them on our website where they're available for free high-resolution download, so everybody can get a copy. All right, everybody look forward right at Mr. Largo, right waving his hand. Awesome. Keep smiling, keep smiling, keep smiling, keep smiling. Outstanding. Thank you so much. Thank you again to Mr. Ortega, Ms. Flores, and the team. Let's have one more round of applause for that amazing presentation and poem. We'll continue with our board recognitions. Our first honoree is a Pebble Hills High School student who won the 2019 Take Care of Texas video contest. The contest, conducted by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, creates awareness on environmental protection and provides tips on how to keep our air and water clean, conserve water and energy, and reduce waste. The student's video was voted as the best in Texas by the public, TCEQ commissioners, and representatives from Waste Management of Texas. From Pebble Hills High School, congratulations to Dominique Barraza. She is joined by her teacher, Benjamin Munguia. Yes, sir. If we can have the two of you right back up front for a photo. Congratulations once again. Next, we honor Team SISD students that won the 2019 Do the Right Thing Essay Challenge. The students, who were selected from more than 7,000 student participants, wrote about solutions to end violence. They attended a leadership conference at the University of Texas at El Paso, where a Blue Ribbon Committee interviewed them and their parents about their writing projects. Congratulations to these amazing young authors. They are from Clark Middle School, Brianna Arguelles. Her teacher is Melissa Gardner. Representing her student, also from Captain Walter E. Clark Middle School, Vanessa Lopez. From John Drugan School, a teacher who's representing a student who could not join us, Sandra Marusic. Excuse me, Marusic. Also from John Drugan School, Maya Cohen. And teacher Derek Beats. From Enzer Middle School, Nubia Castillo. Her teacher is Maria Silva. From Sanchez Middle School, Joana Contreras. Her teacher is Isabel Serrano. Also from Sanchez, Catherine Ramirez. The teacher is Francis Rojas. And from Slider Middle School, Caleb Morales. And his teacher, Ruben Ochoa. Students, teachers, if we can please have you return to the front for a photo. Keep smiling, looking straight ahead. All right, congratulations once again. Next, we will recognize students that advanced to the 2019 Texas Science and Engineering Fair. The fair is one of the largest and most prestigious competitions that brings together top science fair winners from across the state. This year, SISD had the greatest student representation from the Region 19 area with 75 teams of students showcasing their amazing research projects in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. 3 students placed in top spots at the state fair, and 1 student advanced to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. Congratulations to all of our science fair winners for their superb innovation, research, and creative thinking skills. The students will be recognized by school level, and we'll begin with our middle school students. From Enzer Middle School, we have Ryan Miner. Andrew Lefebvre. Samuel Fierro. And their teacher is Christine Duran. From Socorro Middle School, Mercedes Lopez. From Desert Wind School, Eric Chico. His teacher is Ivan Govea. From John Drugan School, Areli Frias. Sofia Gomez. Lizeth Castro. Alan Martinez. Areya Orozco. Diego Avila. Cassette Ruiz. Caroline Garcia. Natalia Diaz. Sofia Arellano. Fatima Franco. Sofia Lopez. Matthew Enriquez. Jennifer Ramirez. Nathan Briggs. Andrea Arellano. Cristina Pan. Nicholas Aldana. Linda Gutierrez. Maya Cohen. Gutierrez. And their teachers from John Drugan School, Linda Gutierrez and Alejandro Lovera. If we can have you all please come to the front for a photo. Keep looking right down the center. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Congratulations once again. We'll continue with a recognition of our high school students that attended the State Science Fair. Beginning with student from Socorro High School, Jacqueline Estrada. Her teacher is Valerie Nichols. From Montwood High School, Wendy Sandoval. Her teacher is Veronica Villalobos Fernandez. From Mission Early College High School, Jelena Wright. And Jelena is our student that advanced to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. Also from Mission Early College High School, Alejandra Rodriguez. Michael No. Cristo Martinez. Aime Cuvalier. Crisanti Wiham. Mia Cifuentes. Neve Torres. Gabriel Gallegos. Christian Rivera. Andrew Hernandez. Teacher of our students from Mission Early College High School, Sandra Blau. From America's High School, Gustavo Ramirez. Matthew Hassan. Itzel Garcia Gama. Their teachers, Elizabeth Mullins. From Eastlake High School, Brian De Leon. Alejandro Blasquez. Their teachers, Martha Juarez. Representing his students from Pebble Hills High School, Gabriel Hayes. Also from Pebble Hills High School, Maya Woods. Denise Dominguez. Andrea Soto. And Brian Liston. From El Dorado High School, Jenny Cha. Alexa Hernandez. Anaí Cuvalier. Brandon Smithson. Martin Resendiz. And their teacher is Cindy Apolaca. Students, teachers, if we'll please have you come to the front for a photo. All right, everybody hold up your certificates, make sure they're right side up, and look right at the center here. Keep smiling, looking forward. A few more. Congratulations once again. Our final recognition is for SISD soccer teams that won 2018-19 UIL championships. First, we have the El Dorado High School girls varsity soccer team being recognized for winning UIL 2-5A district, 5A by district, and area championships. The Lady Aztecs dominated the field and celebrated their historic season, which included 22 wins and 190 goals. They earned an overall record of 22-3 and an outstanding district record of 18-0. Congratulations to these championship Aztecs. They are Karen Delara, Adeline Hernandez, Riley Perez, Soraya Agüero, Amberly Alvarez, Irania Acosta, Vanessa Gonzalez, Rio Hernandez, Briani Alvarez, Natalie Gonzalez, Esperanza Muñoz, April Alvarez, Leslie Gutierrez, Diana Tarango, Aaron Carvajal, Ellie Perez. Assistant coaches are Laura Galindo and Carlos Enriquez. And they're led by head coach Adriana Enriquez. Huh? You know what? A couple more, keep those certificates up. Congratulations once again. Next, we recognize the Socorro High School boys varsity soccer team for winning a UIL 16A district championship. The Bulldogs had yet another great run this season, ending with an overall record of 16-2-3 and a perfect district record of 10-0. They earned, absolutely, another round of applause. They earned an all-academic teen honor, and their leader was named Coach of the Year in District 16A boys soccer. Congratulations to the championship Bulldogs. They are Brian Artalejo, Juan Salas, David Bluan, Julio Cesar Hinojos, Jose Martinez, Isaías Hernández, Alan Duran, Anthony Sandoval, Ezequiel Chavez, Armando Pando, Marifet Diego is the team manager. Also a team manager, Humberto Lomas. Assistant coach is Luis Perez. And they're led by 16A Coach of the Year, Alejandro Delgado. Great job and congratulations once again. That concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
You know, that's enough of that. That is about enough of that. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Board of Trustees business. Consider approval of 2020 census resolution. Ms. Macias.
Yes, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, I'm proudly here to share that we are working along with the U.S. Census Bureau to coordinate this. Right now we have Paulina Lopez that will lead our presentation, and we have amazing Libertad students from Americas High School, Danina Castro, Maya Gonzalez, and Yaraceth Gonzalez.
Good evening, Superintendent Espinosa, Honorable Board of Trustees, It's an honor to be here, and I want to congratulate you for an amazing celebration of all of your accomplishments here at Socorro ISD. My name is Paulina Lopez. I'm a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, and we're getting ready for the 2020 census. As you know, there's a lot at stake for our community and especially for Socorro ISD, because the data that we collect helps not only to inform local decision-making, where do we need more schools, more hospitals, where our business is going to expand, but also the data that we collect is used for apportionment of the House of Representatives and legislative districts, and especially funding for our communities. Funding in our communities, the state of Texas receives $1,578 per person per year, based on federal decennial census data. So that's over $43 billion of federal funding that Texas might lose if we undercount. And the programs that are most impacted by the undercount are programs that really help our communities, such as Medicaid, food stamps, Section 8, but also lunch programs, Title I grants for educations, migrant services, etc. This is a picture I found about expanding lunch programs here at SISD and how it impacts us directly. And we're a little less than a year away from the 2020 census. Response will start March 23rd of 2020, and this is the first time in the history of the census that people will have an option to respond online. We know that for our community, internet access might be an issue, so that's where our partnership with SISD becomes critical, as you are, as Trustee Gandara recently said at one of our meetings, schools are the heart and soul of our communities, but you also, it's a place of gathering of students, of administrators, of families. So people will be able to respond starting March 2020. Census Day, our reference day, is April 1st until July. We're very much known for the traditional door knocking. That doesn't start until late May. So we're asking the community to help us in spreading out the word that everyone can respond online and early, because there is a lot at stake. And also, in this timeline, there's critical operations that we will be conducting in preparation for the census, where we will be hiring local community leaders, community students, families, and the field workers' pay starts at $15 an hour. So these are great opportunities for those 18 and up and U.S. citizens. There'll be temporary, part-time, full-time jobs, office and field jobs available. So that's where a partnership becomes critical, because the Census Bureau has realized that we can't do this alone. You're the trusted voices in our community who can help spread the word and reassure the community that this is safe. It's safe to participate in the census. As a result, the Census Bureau formed this model called Complete Count Committee, and it's really evolved quite a bit in these past 10 years. And I actually have here with me some members of the City of Socorro's Complete Count Committee who have already started their work to promote awareness of the census. So what we're asking is for Socorro to form a district-wide complete count committee. You have the infrastructure, you have the leadership to make this happen. And also, we have been working with an amazing group of students at Americas High School, supported by Teacher of the Year, Mr. Hinojos, who has been wonderful, as well as Ms. Macias, to make this happen, because now more than ever, we need your support. And now I would like to open it up for the students to talk about their ideas of how we can make this a bigger and better campaign.
Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, and members of the board, good evening. My name is Danina Castro. I am a Libertas student at the Libertas Academy at Americas High School. And first, I would like to start off by asking a question. What does representation mean for our community? Well, overall, representation should mean that our government represents each one of us. But how we do that is by each one of us, American citizens, being counted in our government. That's where census comes in. Now, census overall, as they said, has evolved throughout the years. However, we at America's High School completely understand that sometimes it's hard to get everyone to count. Therefore, at America's High School, we would like to come up with our own complete count committee to help this district and our community and of the city of El Paso to be fully recognized in the eyes of the government. In order to fully understand this, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague who will talk a little bit more about what we're planning to do at America's High School. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Maya Gonzalez, another student from the America's High School Libertas Academy. And we're here to talk about how the AHS Census Committee will greatly impact the SISD community. From September 17, 1791, Constitution Day, to now, census has allowed us to get a count for equal representation. And this count is so important for us to get help for underfunding of communities, to get funding for programs like lunch and school, and including infrastructure for our city. The census counts are so important that we want to help raise awareness and spread word through public PSAs, going to health fairs, and having booths to spread the word. We also want to have informational meetings for our parents, SISD employees, and most importantly, students. Students are the voice. They are going to convey our message, and they will deliver everything we need to parents. Although like high school students are seen as always wanting to be on their phones or locked in their room, they want to talk and they like being listened to. So we want to make the most impact by having our committee and making sure everyone gets to count for our 2020 census. Now I'll pass it over for my colleague.
Good evening. My name is Yara Seth Gonzalez. I am a freshman at America's High School in the Libertas Magnet program. As my peers had mentioned, census is very significant, although many of us do not realize it. We want to ensure that our high school students, especially our high school students and parents, understand how census is so important because a lot of them complain about the lunch, but it's good, so we want to get better lunch. Our motto is count for endless opportunities, which means we want to ensure that everyone fills out their census, whether it is through the mail or online, like nowadays. And we want to make sure that everyone gets represented to bring endless opportunities just like SISD. Now I shall be reading from our resolution. A resolution of the Socorro Independent School District resolving to support the goals and ideas for the 2020 census and will disseminate 2020 census information to encourage participation as stakeholders to work together to achieve an accurate and complete count and to encourage people in our attendance boundaries to participate in events and initiatives that will raise the overall awareness of the 2020 census and increase participation among all populations. Whereas the U.S. Census Bureau is required by the U.S. Constitution to conduct a count of the population every 10 years, and this decennial census provides a historic opportunity to help shape the foundation of our society and play an active role in American democracy.
And whereas the Socorro Independent School District is committed to ensuring every SISD stakeholder is counted as federal and state funding is allocated to communities and decisions are made on matters of national and local importance based in part on census data. And whereas census data helps determine how many seats each state will have in the U.S. House of Representatives and is necessary for an accurate and fair redistricting of state legislative seats, county and city councils, and voting districts, and whereas under Title 13 U.S. Code, all Census Bureau employees swear a lifetime oath to protect respondent data, and under Title 44 U.S. Code, the Census Bureau must ensure that individual records from the decennial censuses remain confidential for 72 years. And
Now therefore be it resolved that the Socorro Independent School District will, 1, educate the students about the U.S. Census within instruction of informational of the U.S. Constitution during the Celebrate Freedom Week under the TEA 29.907. 2, support the goals and ideals of the 2020 census and the disseminate of 2020 census information with the Socorro Independent School District community. 3, encourage all Socorro Independent School District stakeholders to participate in events and innovate that will raise overall awareness of the 2020 census and increase in participation. 4, work collaboratively with United Voices of community organizations to convey the importance of the 2020 census all stakeholders within the Socorro Independent School District community. 5, support census takers as help the El Paso community, City of Socorro, and the City of Horizon to complete an accurate count. 6, support all efforts of the America's School Libertas Complete Count Committee. We would like to conclude by restating our motto, which is count for endless opportunities. Once again, what we mean by that is we mean that our district should count and will count in the census 2020. Thank you.
President Rodriguez, we would ask for your approval
Motion
of the
to approve.
resolution.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gandara, seconded by Mr. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ladies. Next item, 5B, consider approval of the Month of the Military Child Proclamation. Ms. Macias.
Thank you. I'm also honored. I'm also very honored to introduce to you, these are scholars from Jose F. Carrasco Elementary, and we have Miss Savannah Wolf, Destiny Owen, and Yvonne Hernandez.
Proclamation, Month of the Military Child, and April 16th, 2019 as Purple Up for Military Kids Day.
Whereas Scholar Independent School District recognizes the self-acts of services performed by its brave members of the military and their devoted families, and
whereas military families continue to face the unique burden of multiple deployments, often causing uncertainty and constant upending of their daily lives and routines.
Whereas military families themselves know of the sacrifices borne by military children, but their important contributions can often go unnoticed by the general public. And
whereas Socorro Independent School District is home to more than 3,000 military children who have at least one parent serving in the military, and
whereas military children are a source of pride and honor, and that we recognize the often unsung sacrifices made by them and commend them for their support and dedication to their families in service to the protection and advancement of citizens' rights and freedoms.
whereas a month of April has been celebrated as the Month of the Military Child since 1986, recognizing the importance of military children and expressing gratitude for their sacrifice. And
there was a month-long salute to military children will encourage local communities to provide direct support to military children and families. Therefore, we, Dr. Jose Espinosa, Superintendent of the Socorro Independent School District, and the Board of Trustees of the Socorro Independent School District, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as
Month of the Military Child and April 16, 2019 as Purple Up for Military Kids Day.
Thank you, ladies.
So today is Purple Lip Day, and we would like your approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gandara, seconded by Mr. Ayub. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Good job, ladies.
Next item on the agenda, consider approval of proclamation for National School Nurse Day, May 8th, 2019. Ms. Madrid.
Good evening, President Rodriguez, members of the board, Dr. Espinosa. And we're here to, again, as you say, we want consider approval of the proclamation for Nurse Day, which this day, this year is going to be May 8th. And you're not seeing double. This year we're going to have the nurses from Purple Heart and the nurse also from Clark. And this year I'm here to also recognize these two nurses because they've just heard that they've been accepted to the Texas Tech Health Science for the doctorate program there for nurse practitioner and family practice, and they're going to read the proclamation. I'm very proud of them.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Judy Chacon Crawford. I'm at Clark, and this is Elda Chacon Boggs, and she's at Purple Heart. This is the proclamation for the National School Day for May 8th, 2019. Whereas students are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And
whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for when they are at school.
And whereas all students have a right to have their physical and mental health needs safely met while in the school setting. And
whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school. And
whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years. And
whereas school nurses address the home and community factors, example, social determinants that impact students' health. And
whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being and academic success and the lifelong achievements of all students by serving on their front lines and providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children. And
whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children. And
whereas school nurses support the health and education success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And
whereas school nurses are members of the school-based teams, example, school health services, 504 IEP, disaster emergency planning, to address the school's population. And
whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and in a position to make a positive difference for children every day, therefore be it
resolved that the National Association of School Nurses celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of the school nurses everywhere in their efforts of meeting the needs of today's students by improving the delivery and health care in our schools, and offers gratitude for the nation's school nurses who contribute to our local communities by helping students stay healthy in school, ready to learn, and keeping parents and guardians at work, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity throughout the year.
Now, therefore, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 8th, 2019, as School Nurse Day in Socorro ISD and commend its observance to all citizens. Adopted this day, 16th of April, 2019.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
And we're requesting approval. May
Motion
8th
to
for this
approve.
day.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Ayub, seconded by Mr. Gandara. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is open forum. We greatly appreciate those individuals who have requested to speak to the board during open forum or in regard to a specific agenda item. We are bound by certain time constraints in order to cover all the items on the agenda and therefore must limit presentations to 5 minutes. Please respect the rights of others in your presentation. By law, the board cannot take action upon or discuss any item which is not posted on tonight's agenda, but we will give all presentations our serious consideration. Thank you. Let's proceed to open forum. First person, Ms. Sandra Castro.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Castro, resident of Socorro District. I am also a proud bilingual temporary instructional aide at Jane Hambrick. I would like to thank the members of the board and all the audience for their attention to this important matter. Ms. Rodriguez, I have a letter of the presentation and an earth cube that I would like to present to you. Is that okay?
That's fine. Thank you.
I have lived in the Socorro Independent School District for more than 20 years and served as a volunteer in several schools for many years. As you know, our district has been recognized with several awards across the state of Texas. Thanks to the collaboration of the faculty, staff, students, parents, and community, and of course, the great leadership of our Superintendent, Jose Espinosa. Community volunteers play a major part in our schools and are also recognized each year for their service in the month of April. Every year, there are over 100,000 volunteer hours reported, according to Rachel Tarango, coordinator of the Volunteer Program Administrative Services. At Socorro Independent School District, most clubs require that its members have a certain amount of community service hours per year. We also have those amazing students that go the extra mile by doing additional hours of service, not as a requirement, but because it comes from their heart. Every year, a banquet is done to recognize our volunteers, but did you know that only one high school student is selected to receive the Youth Volunteer of the Year District Award? This is the reason that I'm here today, to humbly ask the members of the board to consider a day to recognize all volunteer students and encourage others to make a difference in their community. I would like to suggest that it be done during the second week of the month of April when we celebrate Global Youth Service Day. And what is Global Youth Service Day? It is the largest youth service and civic action event in the world, which gathers young people around the world ages 5 to 25, and the only one that celebrates, educates, advocates together for the common good of our society. Global Youth Service Days encourage and promotes young people to be activists of the changes they would like to see in the world. A great example is a 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, which with her hashtag Friday for Future Climate Change movement has made a big impact. Socorro Independent School District, we have a slogan that says, make it count. We might not agree with Greta's initiative to miss school on Fridays, of course not, but as a concerned citizen, we cannot afford to ignore the problem. I also propose that we consider immediate action on climate change as part of a service project, climate generation and awakening of our children's future. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to hearing from your decision of this matter. Please, as you go back home, take the time to reflect on what you have seen and what you have heard, and let us continue improving the life of others, especially our children and youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castro.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Mr. Ayub.
could we ask Dr. Espinosa if he could please look into a possibility of addressing some of these suggestions tonight?
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
And Dr. Espinosa, here's a letter that Ms. Castro presented for your information and your records. Next person, Heather.
School board members, Superintendent Dr. Espinosa, thank you for this opportunity to address you in this public forum. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Heather Deeby, retired Major, U.S. Army Nurse Corps. I am here today to see if you have any response to the statement that I made to you in February school board meeting open forum.
Ms. Deeby, during open forum, we're not allowed to address anything that's not on the agenda. So at this time, we would not be able to respond to any questions regarding what was discussed at last month's open forum or in this month's open forum.
It was February's open forum, and in my statement, I told you I would come back in April to see if you had any response. Unfortunately, I'm not at all surprised at this lack of response. I've been dealing with that unethical lack of accountability and responsibility from Team SISD since 2015. However, I do want each and every one of you sitting up there to know that I will never give up my attempts to hold you accountable. I will go to NPR, local and social media, CNN iReport, and anyone and everyone that will listen to me, and I will tell them what you allowed to happen to my daughter. So, to paraphrase an Edmund Burke saying, bad things happen when good people do nothing. You allowed something very bad to happen to my daughter and did absolutely nothing. So I will continue and always will do something instead of nothing.
Thank you, Ms. Deeby. Next item on the agenda, district reports. Facilities report, Mr. Iington.
Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. My report begins on page 15. It's a summary of our facility committee meeting that we held earlier this month. The first project is Socorro High School. This project is moving. In fact, tonight there's a few of my staff members attending the planning and zoning meeting in Socorro concerning the rezoning of that property that we bought for the new school. So have not heard from them, so I will follow up on that. We're also scheduled to have some meetings next week to discuss the phasing and scheduling of this project and to finalize and focus on the phase one, which would be the relocation of the softball field and to start some of the utility work and bring a guaranteed maximum price to you within the next 30 to 60 days for that work. Cactus Trails Elementary School is the elementary school that's moving along, and we are continuing to work on that. A lot of progress is being made. There's a lot of ongoing site work and a lot of interior finishing is beginning to work. I believe I have a couple of slides to show you on that. But it is moving, and we're also working with the administrative staff to help her, Ms. Thomas, with a May the 20th, I believe, community meeting that will be held with her parents. Again, here's some aerial and of the site. You can see that the some of the site work and parking is beginning to show its forms with the curbs. And then this is the entrance of the facility off of Ralph Sightsinger. This is the playfield area, getting some top dressing in order to level it out, and then we'll start to sod this. But this is kind of behind the school. The playfields are coming along. If you go in the interior of the building, you'll see a lot of metal work, metal studs, drywall installation, and work like that going in. A lot of the glazing have been completed, so we're able to continue to start some of our finish work. For example, this is some tile work that's being installed as we speak, and we're actually, I think, in some areas beginning to put some of the vinyl floor down in some of the areas. So the project is moving. Like I said, you can see a lot of the site improvements going on. This is behind the school, one of the drop-off areas. The framing on this is the little outdoor amphitheater behind the area that's being framed up and getting ready to be poured. And I think that completes Cactus Trail. The next one is Montwood High School. We are working, I believe I informed you last meeting that we did receive proposal on the lighting package, sports lighting. That proposal is being scoped out by the construction manager. It is within and under the budget. I don't know the exact number yet, but they are working on that and should be bringing that to me for authorization to proceed with that work. We also are continuing to work on the other packages. The contract documents are about 50% complete, and we continue to work with the departments reviewing those drawings. Same with America's High School. We're actually, I believe, started some geotesting where we're actually going out and poking some holes in the grounds to determine what our soil condition is, where these new additions are going. And my staff is following up with the administration and to schedule meetings with the administration and the community. Same with El Dorado. We are working. We've had meetings with all of our architects and consultants on all of these projects on a weekly basis. If there's not somebody in my conference room, almost on a every other day basis, reviewing projects. We're constantly working and reviewing, and the same thing with El Dorado. We're following up with the staff to schedule with the administration and community. The new studio activity complex, we in executive session. If I could have about 5 minutes of executive session, I can update you.
You can have 4.5.
4.5, okay, 4.5. To
Not
update
a bit
you on,
more. 4.5 is all you get.
4.5, that's plenty. I can update you on the meeting that we had with this entity that we were instructed to do. The auxiliary gyms, I believe, is next. This project is, in fact, I just got an email this afternoon late. We're approximately about 65% of the construction documents. We are working on the geotesting to go out and poke some holes in the grounds, determine what our soil conditions are, and we're also doing some selected surveying at all the campuses to tie down some of the particular buildings and stuff where these additions are going to go. The preliminary estimate that came in is under the budget, so we're in good shape so far with the auxiliary gyms. Support Service Technology Project. We had a meeting last week with the technology staff, and we actually reviewed some color selection and presented that to the technology department. The boards are in my office. They approved all of those, so we're working to release that project for construction, and I will bring back a more definite time because we have to move this dirt parking lot in order to start that construction. The new combo school for the East Lake feeder pattern, we have terminated those contracts per the board meeting last month, and we are in the process, and I think about ready to put the request for qualification, the professional services architects out, along with the construction manager, the contractors, and hopefully in the next 45 days or so, bring back a recommendation for that project. Mr. Naha, I want to thank you for the comments you made about the M&O staff. They do a tremendous job, and David and I will definitely commend them on what you said. But I've also included a couple of projects that they have done in-house, and one is, this is the interior courtyard of Jane Hambrick. Anytime it rained, that became a swimming pool in there. It kind of filled up. So we've gone in there and done a lot of work and regraded that and put some French drains and other drains in place. So that was accomplished during the intercession, and we feel like we've addressed that project. We also, at the Escontrias Elementary School, remodeled a old office that was non-functional in the child nutrition area. The manager's office, she counts a lot of money and does a lot of delicate paperwork. As you can see on my far left-hand side is what it was. It was kind of open, and we went in there, put a wall, a door, and the window, and built a desk for her to operate, and then she can also view the kitchen area. And then we constantly are working on various marquees, upgrading those, and we're doing this all internally with our M&O staff. I think I presented or showed you some last month, and these are some more that we have done since then. And that completes my report.
Are there any questions?
Ms. Rodriguez.
Mr. Ayub?
Mr. Arrington, on Cactus Trails, we're on target for the occupation date. What is that?
Don't quote me on the contractual date, but I think it's around June that it's at least 10 days, 2 weeks before we're supposed to move in. So
we're ahead of schedule?
Ahead of schedule. Yeah, it's not gonna be the weekend before like we've done in the past. It's supposed to be done somewhere in the middle of July, and then we move in. You know, we'll have a couple of weeks to be able to move in and get it established. We're working on with purchasing department, with the furniture bids and that type of stuff.
Okay. And in reference to America's High School, I haven't seen anything since we had that community meeting, and we had some drawings there. But I was just recently there at the college, Operation College Bound, which was a great activity, but parking continues to be an issue. With the new construction, how many parking spaces are we going to lose? Do you have an idea?
I don't know. We'll have to get back with you on that, but it is an issue. That is our smallest site. It's I think it's right at about 48 acres. All of our other high school sites are 50 acres, and of course our newer sites are approaching the 70 acres. So 50 was the rule of thumb for years and years for a high school. And now that we've gone to 70 acres on East Lake, Pebble Hills, and with the addition of the land that we bought at Socorro, we're right at the 70 acres also. But Americas is 48 acres, and
That's
it.
that.
Yeah.
And as we move forward in reference to the auxiliary gyms, have you considered putting those on 3 separate spreadsheets? Because obviously we've got potentially 3 groups working on these things.
Yes, I'll do that. I showed you the breakdown last month, so from now on, I'll report on the 3 separate.
That'd be
Yes,
great.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Iington.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, fiscal year 2019-20 budget process and updates on House Bill 3. Mr. Reza.
Yes, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, tonight we'll provide you with a brief update on the budget process, as well as update on proposed legislation that will impact school districts. This is just the agenda for tonight. Again, I'll update you on Senate Bill 2 and House Bill 3, provide you the budget impact at various salary increases that were requested by the board at the last workshop that we had, briefly go over the preliminary budget as it is by function, and then go over the agenda for the April 23rd budget workshop. So what you have here is the current proposed revenues for the general fund. It's at $377 million. And what you'll see, it's a decrease of about $2 million over our current revised budget. And the reason for that, very simply, is our projected average daily attendance increase is about 0.5%, but our state values increased by 9.25%. So when you have values growing that much, and ADA not growing that much, unless you do something about the tax rate, you're going to lose state funding under current law. So currently, we're not proposing anything at this current time, where we're looking to see what the legislature has to propose with respect to funding. And I'll talk about that in a little while. With respect to Senate Bill 2, Senate Bill 2 by Benport would cap new revenue tax increases at 2.5% for all local entities with more than $15 million in combined property and sales tax revenue. And if you exceed it, you have to have an election and get that approved. Yesterday, the Senate did amend that percentage to 3.5% for cities, counties, and other taxing entities, with the exception of school districts. School districts are still being held at 2.5% threshold, and that's something we're going to continue to look at. Now, with respect to House Bill 3, Huberty, just briefly go over some of the major changes. It does change the current funding formulas. It increases the basic allotment. It does reduce tax rates for maintenance and operations by 4 cents. It creates 2 new chapters. It'll replace chapters 41 and 42 with chapters 48, 49. It repeals the gifted and talented allotment, the high school allotment, staffing allotment, the cost of education index, and you'll read the other ones. I think everybody provided this information for you. Now, when it was approved in the budget, there were certain amendments that were made, and I'd like to briefly kind of go over those amendments. First of all, it reinstated the expenditure requirements for compensatory education and bilingual education. So under House Bill 3, we're required to spend 52% of comp ed and bilingual ed from the revenue that we generate. It also allows for 8 golden pennies for 2019-20, but places a 1-year freeze on any tax ratification elections to raise the maintenance and operation tax rate over $1.04. And finally, this bill requires that 25% of any increase in the basic allotment must be used for salary increases for full-time employees other than administrators. And of that 25%, 75% must be given in an equal amount, and the other 25% will be at the discretion of the school board. So if House Bill goes through fruition, whatever additional revenue we get, any increase in the basic allotment, 25% must be towards salary increases. Now, with respect to the impact of House Bill 3 on Socorro ISD, what you'll see is, thanks, Susan. That's not exactly the music I would play for this slide.
That was a pretty good intro there.
Right on time.
So this bill would require our maintenance and operation tax rate to be decreased by 4 cents. And so at this rate, we would not be receiving the total basic allotment that's being increased, and we wouldn't have any access to all of our golden pennies that we currently have. So under House Bill 3, we are allowed a rollback rate. In other words, that's 96 cents plus 4 additional cents, which would be $1. for 2020 and $1.01 for 2021. So how does that impact us in comparison to other school districts? So this is information we received from the Legislative Budget Board. So because we're compressed at 94 cents for maintenance operations and other districts have higher tax rates, we would only get an additional $277 per student average daily attendance. Okay, while other districts get an additional $813 to about $621 in additional revenue. So that would put us at a severe disadvantage. And what you have there is a comparison of how much more other districts are getting in our area over us. Clint ISE would be getting $344. Yes, sir.
Just so people understand, we're actually being punished for doing our job, right?
We're being penalized because we have a low maintenance and
That's what
operation
I'm saying.
tax rate.
We have a low tax rate, and so now Socorro ISD is getting punished for saving our taxpayer money.
Yes, sir. In this case, because of the fact that we had one of the lowest tax rates in the state, we're getting a lot less additional revenue
And I
per
think
student.
people need to understand that we have one of the lowest tax rates actually the lowest in the city, if I'm correct.
That's correct, sir.
And for doing so, we're losing money for doing it. So
Well-
I love how the state works.
So we're not getting as much money as other districts, but you can see there the other districts are getting significantly more per student.
For taxing
Now-
their taxpayers.
Exactly. Now, under House Bill 3, we do have the ability to raise the compressed tax rate. Nobody else can, but we can. However, we're always on the lookout from the Senate side to see if that capability is prevented. So let me just go through this presentation and go from there. So unless we generate revenue, we'll be generating, at this point, $277 of additional revenue is about $12 million. However, you're still looking at the fact that we would have to reduce our tax rate, so we'd lose about $4 million in local tax collection. So the net effect would be about an $8 million increase in revenues at this current time, unless we do something about tax effort. And again, this information is from the Legislative Budget Board. So things to consider. First of all, we need to keep in mind that Senate Bill 2 may have an impact on our rollback rate, so we're closely monitoring that. And I do want to thank Representative Mary Gonzalez's office. They've been very supportive. They've been very prompt in answering the questions that I've asked, and I want to thank her and her staff for the information that they're providing us. Second, according to the Equity Center, House Bill 3 contains over $1 billion in spending that is above what the House approved in the budget. And so if it comes to fruition, then the projected additional revenues might be reduced or prorated downward to fit the budget. So we'll continue to monitor this situation and see what comes of it. Now, there's also a new item, and that is the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the speaker of the House are proposing an increase in the sales tax by 1%, from 6.25% to 7.25% for the purpose of providing property tax relief. But this would require 2/3 approval of the House and the Senate and a majority vote of the Texas voters. So we'll see what happens with that. And then finally, compromise funding bill that we're anxiously waiting is likely to be completed or approved around the middle of May, about the time when we're approving compensation. So it's something we're going to be looking at as we move forward to adopting our compensation. And having said compensation, the board at the last minute did request what's the cost or the budget impact for increases in compensation at various percentages. So what you have there is currently our budget has a 2% general pay increases for employees that are eligible, and you see the impact for the various job classes. So when you look at the grand total, that's the grand total for salaries. We're looking at $5.4 million that's in our, it would be in all our budgets if this should be adopted. Now, what does that mean? It means it'd be an increase for our teachers, nurses, librarians of $1,091. Our entry-level salary would go up to $49,552, and there would be an associated cost in the fringes of $246,000. If we went up to 0.5%, then you're looking at an increase, you're looking at a total cost in salaries for those different job classes of $6.7 million. Our increase for our teachers, nurses, librarian would be $1,363, and the starting salary would be $49,824. Now, what is that? That's an additional $1.3 million over what currently is in our budget. Now, the board has considered or asked about, what about a one-time $500 payment? We were looking at almost $3 million in addition to the $1.3 million, for a total increase in the budget of about $4.2 million. Should the board want to go to 3%, then you're looking at a grand total of about $8.1 million. So for teachers, nurses, librarians, their increase would be $1,636. Starting salaries would be $50,097. And again, you're looking at about an increase in the budget of about $5.6 million when you add that amount plus the almost $3 million for the one-time payment. And a 0.25% increase is about $677,000. Just a point of reference, as we're going through the budget, this is information that was requested from some of the board members, and this is for your information. So, coming to the certain budget drivers that we currently have, again, it's a 2% general pay increase that we have in the budget. We have additional instructional positions for projected growth. We have staffing for Cactus Trails Elementary School, additional salaries for special education, additional salaries, textbooks, and transportation for the early college high schools at El Dorado, Pebble Hills, and Eastlake, funding for grade level, the transition at Antwine and Paso del Norte, and funding for 20 school buses. So this is the current budget. It hasn't changed the last time we presented. It will change when we meet again on Tuesday. So what's not in the budget, additional department requests for positions, stipend review changes, and substitute pay changes or strategies to relocate each absences, to reduce teachers' absences, I'm sorry. So these items are not in the budget, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be in the budget at a later time. It's just something that we just don't have. So look, currently what we have is our current budget status shows a $28 million budget deficit, but that's only because we haven't done any kind of recommendations on revenue. We're waiting to see what the legislature has in mind. So again, you've got House Bill 3, which certainly penalizes us in a sense because we have a pretty low M&O tax rate, but it does give us the ability to maybe generate more revenue. Now, like I mentioned before, the $277 represents about $12 million in additional revenue, but when you reduce it by the tax collections that we'll lose, it's about $8 million. It's not much of an increase. But we can generate some more revenue if we're allowed to increase it. And what this is telling us, in a sense, is that this system rewards tax effort. We've been good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, but we need to do what's best for the students of this district, and that is certainly to make sure that we generate revenue to be able to provide the programs that we have, the top-notch the classroom education that we have, as well as commensurate compensation for our employees. So having said that, this is the agenda that we'll have for the workshop on Tuesday. We'll provide you the detailed budgets for all these different funds. We'll endeavor to provide you these budgets by Thursday in the board packet. So if you want to welcome over during the Easter weekend, you can certainly do so. But at least you have an opportunity to review them before we meet on Tuesday with respect to the workshop. So that was a quick, brief presentation. Is there any questions on this information?
Are there any questions?
Okay. Ms. Rodriguez?
Mr. Ayub?
So you're a ray of sunshine. I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, it's not your fault, sir. But so to be clear, if nothing happens at this point, you're projecting a $28 million deficit next year. That's what your slide said.
That's what it says right now at this time. But we will be recommending something.
And when you're saying recommending the ability to generate more revenue, really what you're saying is for us to raise taxes.
That's the only thing that's available.
Our community, every other community in this area will probably get a tax decrease. And we're going to turn around and say, in order for us to sustain what we've got, or at least get close to it, we're going to raise taxes. That's the thought.
That's correct, sir, if we're allowed to. Because we don't know that perhaps on the Senate side, there may not, that caveat to be able to raise revenue may not be approved by them or certainly consented by them. That's why we're waiting for that compromise bill. But that's exactly right, sir.
And like Mr. Gandara said, the reason for this is year after year, we've discussed not raising taxes, not to impact our community, not to make them have to pay more taxes, because it seems a lot of the other taxing entities can live within their means, and you all have been able to keep us living within our means. And because of that, we do get punished. We don't get as much revenue as some of the other school districts. Is that correct?
Well, yes, sir. We're not getting as much revenue as they are, additional revenue because of our low M&O tax rate. That's what it comes down to.
Okay. So when we also meet on Tuesday, would you also have some projected areas where if things don't change, where we can make some adjustments, because I don't know how far you can go on a $28 million deficit. Do we wait on buying school buses or do we wait on other things? I don't want to wait on any of those things. Those priorities are there for a reason, and we've always kept our staff's raises as the #1 priority, and we've always given a raise. That I wouldn't even want to discuss. That we need to continue to make every effort to do that. But we need to give some thought to a $28 million deficit.
Yes, sir. I do think that we'll be generating some additional revenue, but again, the reason why you have that deficit is because we haven't made any recommendations. It won't be 28 million. I think it would be less than that. But we will be looking at possible adjustments to the budget of D2. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Ayub, even though we certainly don't burden or try to minimize the burden to our community, if under things to consider, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the House Speaker have their way, we don't have to tax them. They certainly will. That increase of a 1% tax, sales tax, that's a regressive tax rate. And unfortunately, what that does is it burdens those who can afford that burden the least. Because, of course, the less money you make, the greater that percentage, 7.25% is going to have on you.
That's exactly right, sir.
On all these goods. Yep, I agree with you, sir. It's okay, challenge for next year. What else will we do?
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Reza.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled on consent agenda?
9C.
9C? Hold on, let me find it. Sorry,
No,
the
9C.
fingers.
8C.
Was it 8C?
Yeah, there's no 9s.
New business 9 and then C?
We're
not
on
new business. I
consent.
apologize.
That's all right. Anything on consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to pull F1B, project search.
Motion to approve consent agenda excluding item F1B.
Second.
Motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of F1B was made by Mr. Ayub, seconded by Mr. Guerra. Any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes.
Mr. Naka.
Mr.
No, I got the wrong number. I apologize.
okay.
He's on new business.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. F1B. I would like Mr. Ortega to give us some information on project search, please.
Good evening, Dr. Espinosa, Mr. Rodriguez, Vice President, board members. My name is Richard Ortega. I'm the Director of Special Education. Tonight I have the privilege of this item being pulled because it's really to highlight the item. We have a great opportunity, and we always talk about endless opportunities. We have the opportunity of being one of 2 districts in the entire region to be able to implement Project Search. It is an opportunity for our students that have intellectual disabilities to be able to increase our transition program. So these are students who have already met their credit requirements, but are coming back to complete their IEP, and basically we're looking at employability skills. So just to give you a little bit specific information, the agreement would be between the hospitals of Providence East Campus, the Socorro Independent School District, Texas Workforce Commission, and Emergence Health Network. And basically, Project Search is a best practice for hiring individuals with intellectual disabilities modeled after Project Search at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. And just to kind of give you a quick synopsis, basically, it's Project Search, again, is something for our students to be able to increase their opportunities, to give them an internship at the hospital here at our East Campus, where they'll be working not only in the health field, but everything from the cafeteria, maintenance, anything within the hospital. And that's why they select a huge organization to give us as many opportunities within that organization. We're looking at placing about 10 of our students that already participate in our CAP program, that is our Community Access Program. So these are students that we already place in the community for internship skills, and we also train them how to use Sun Metro to get from their home to those job sites. So now we're going to go into a central location. We're looking at 10 of our students. Within that 4 year of being under that internship, the hope is for the graduation purpose, and again, it is my understanding with the other district that is already implementing Project Search, This is not a guarantee or anything. It is an unpaid employment practice internship, but they've already hired 5 of their students within the Providence West. So there is a great opportunity for our students to have an opportunity to be hired there. The bottom line is the students participating in Project Search will have the benefits of an internship experience and educational opportunities available at the East Campus for instruction, employability skills, and work readiness and preparation for competitive integrated employment. So again, we have a great opportunity here for endless opportunities, and I do want to thank Dr. Espinosa and Ms. Borrego. This is something that I'm always encouraged. What else can we do for our students? We already have one of the best, if not the best, transition programs in the entire region. This is just going to add to what we already provide to our students with intellectual disabilities at our high schools. So at this point in time, if you have any comments or questions, I'd be more happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Any questions?
No, excellent
Motion to
program.
approve?
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gandara, seconded by Mr. Ayub. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I must abstain. Thank you, Mr. Ortega.
Thank you very much.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is new business. Consider approval of administrator certified term contract recommendations for the 2019-2020 school year. Mr. Campoya.
Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, and board members. I'm here tonight to present to you one additional certified administrator contract. On your Friday packet, you should have received that name. Administration is recommending approval for this employee to receive their contract for 1920 school year.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Mr. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Consider approval of professional certified contract recommendations for 2019-20 school year. Mr. Campoya.
Again, good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, and board members. Rudy Campoya, Chief Human Resources Officer, and I am here tonight to present to you the list of professional certified contract recommendations for teachers, librarians, nurses, counselors, speech therapists, and educational diagnosticians. They are recommended to receive their employment contract for the 1920 school year. On your Friday packet, you should have received that list. The list have been verified by the Department of HR to make sure that we didn't miss anyone. So at this time, administration is recommending your approval for these employees to receive their 1920 employment contract.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Mr. Nájera. Any further discussion?
Yes, please. Have we considered yet what I proposed, I guess, last year about, instead of doing a yearly contract, that we up it up, give them a 2-year contract or even a 3-year contract to our teachers and all our other employees?
That is something that I can bring up to the HR committee. There is a policy, which is a board policy. And that board policy right now, the current board policy does state that it could be a multi-year or 1 year. There is a recommendation to change the policy to make it a single year so that it could be in line with our practice. So that's something that before it goes to next policy committee, I can bring it up for discussion and take it to the committees. Okay. And if the committees...
And I understand why we do this. I understand because there's, every now and then we get a person that, it's not their profession and they need to go. I understand that. But, we have enough employees that I think that deserve a little bit more stability. Not going by year to year. I think it would make a lot of people more happy knowing that their job is there for another 2 years, just like our superintendent, I think it would help improve morale. Again, that's just my opinion.
I'll bring it up to the HR committee and then we can take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campoya.
I share that sentiment with Mr. Gandara. And for the same reasons. I agree that if we're extending 3-year agreements, why not be consistent? And I understand, again, the requirements, but also understand you know, that there are other means to deal with, and it just means accountability. You know, if someone is not fit for the job, then there are mechanisms and we have processes in place to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's not any single employee in the district who would disagree that they'd certainly have a greater level of, you know, ease and knowing that, you know, from one year to the next, you may be having to search for something else because it's not there. But it also places a greater burden on us, because certainly if we extend 3-year agreements, you know, that means that when it comes to budgeting, et cetera, we're committing to a 3-year term of a specific salary payment. So, you know, it comes with some responsibility from us as well.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campoya. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve a resolution adopting an apprenticeship program for all SISD building construction projects over $50,000. And we actually have 2 people who signed up to speak to this agenda item. Please remember the 5-minute time limit on the presentations. So if we could have Mr. Adam Pacheco, who is here to speak on this agenda item.
No, you're not there because it's an agenda item.
Good evening, Superintendent Espinosa, Vice President Rodriguez, and Board of Trustees. Thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Adam Pacheco from the El Paso Association of Contractors. On behalf of our 20 general contractors, 60 subcontractors, and over 40 associates, we are in full support of Socorro ISD adopting the apprenticeship program. EPAC knows how important it is to Socorro ISD that they give their students the best education they can. So why wouldn't you want the men and women working on your construction projects to get educated as well? Adopting the apprenticeship program will allow this to happen. If adopted, you will know that the quality of work will be a priority at your job sites. Thank you all once again for allowing me to speak, and we hope you support the apprenticeship program.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Next person speaking to this agenda item is Mr. Oscar Duran.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to being in front of
It's okay.
But I jotted some things down.
We only growl, we don't bite.
Okay. Well, my name is Oscar Duran. I'm a lifelong resident of El Paso. I graduated from El Paso High School. And I'm also the business manager for the elevator constructors mechanic for the state of New Mexico, El Paso, and Hudspeth County. Our apprenticeship program is extensive. I'm a graduate of that program. I graduated in 1988. And I'd like to say that ever since then, my life has changed dramatically. It provided a comfortable livelihood. And after all my training, I'm also now a successful elevator mechanic. I'm an elevator safety inspector, and I'm also the co-chair of our joint apprenticeship committee for this local. Our program is very, very successful, and regretfully, I wasn't able to bring any of the students right now because they're in class. But I was in this program for 6 years, and it provided a very comfortable livelihood. I'd also like to say that I've jumped a little bit ahead of myself here, but apprenticeship programs provide opportunities for all the students, and they also contribute to the community. And not only that, they also teach safety in the workplace. I have an example. We have one of our members, Mike Haynes, was at UTEP, striving to be an engineering degree, and he was unable to complete it because of debt and kind of livelihoods, things that happen. Well, I introduced him to our program, Mike is now a second-year apprentice. He's in school right now. Upon the completion of his training, he will be an elevator mechanic, and if he wishes, he can also pursue further his career through continuing education, all because of the apprenticeship program. In closing, I ask you to support the resolution to approve apprenticeship programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
Motion to approve. Second.
I think we need Mr. Iington to actually present it.
Saved him some time.
We're just saving him some time.
I don't have to read it because I don't want to read it.
Oh, yeah, can we make a motion to make him read it? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Did we?
Do we? Oh.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, the pages were stuck. Yes, I apologize. We do have one more. Mr. Jorge Varela. I apologize, Mr. Varela. My fingers don't work very much and the pages were stuck together.
That happens to me all the time. Good evening, President Esparza and Socorro board members. My name is Jorge Varela. I'm representing the electrical workers and I am a member of the El Paso Building Trades. I'm speaking on behalf of the resolution that will be brought up under new business. This resolution pertains to adding apprenticeship language to the Socorro Independent School District construction projects. I believe it is very appropriate that a learning institution such as SISD wants to adopt apprentice language in their upcoming construction projects. Not all graduating high school students will go on to college. Apprenticeships in construction trades provide an excellent path for these trainees to gain valuable work experience and training so as to help them earn livable wages and provide for their families. Apprentice programs provide excellent instruction in all facets of their respective trades. They provide very important and crucial safety training, and of course, a structured path toward the licensing or certification in their respective trades. Apprenticeship graduates are by far better prepared workers. As more of our skilled trade workers retire or are reaching retirement age, it is crucial we start training and preparing new trades workers to take over. Apprenticeship programs are the perfect and obvious solution. I myself am a product of an electrical apprenticeship program. I didn't have the opportunity to attend college. Luckily, the apprenticeship I attended provided me with the training and skills to provide a dignified and livable wage so I could provide for my families. Apprenticeships do work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varela. Again, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Blanco. Mr. Iington.
Good evening again. Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Administration has been working on this for a good year or so. I have met personally with both of the organizations a couple of times, and we have presented it to the facility committee meeting, and we also have been working through our legal counsel in order to review similar resolutions and have come up with this resolution. And administration recommends consideration and adoption of an apprentice program for all of SISD building construction projects over $50,000 as presented.
And I know we already have
a motion.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Ayu.
Mr. Ayu was, and who seconded? Mr. Gandara? We have a motion by Mr. Ayub, seconded by Mr. Gandara. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Nahara.
Mr. Iington, thank you so much for first your interest and then willingness to bring this forward, and certainly the gentlemen who were here to speak in support of it. I recently read an article that I believe over the next 20 years, the top 10 growth areas, 6 of them are trades. The article was a unique, I think, observation that many of our students who are graduating from college enter a job market that doesn't even allow them to earn enough to pay for their college debts. Of course, depending on the college that they go to, and whereas the trades have different training programs as well, and they're 6 of the 10, and among them were electricians, plumbers, and airline mechanics, which struck me as unique, but
for the man that applies everywhere.
Yeah, you would want that.
You know what? When I'm on a plane, I just hope that it works because I don't want to think about it working. I just want to know that it does. And so I guess I may only get one chance to know that it doesn't, right? So at any rate, and you know, certainly the article also mentioned you know, living wages as well. You know, these certainly aren't minimum wage jobs. So I think this is right in line with our Endless Opportunities, you know, campaign. Certainly as well with, you know, already the extensive things that we do in career and technology and our adult education as well. And so it's great. You know, I imagine a student coming here, graduating from here, maybe going to college, maybe going to a trade school, graduating from that. Maybe even, you know, I know that there's some unions who also offer apprenticeships as well. You know, they attend the apprenticeships and then they get to participate in the construction, the development, the maintenance of, you know, some of our campuses and some of the very campuses maybe that their kids go to as well. So anyways, I think this is a great opportunity. I'm glad to see it, and I'm glad that everybody's supportive.
Thank you. Mr. Ayub?
I just wanted to add, certainly echo what Mr. Nahara mentioned, but in addition to that, one of the important things to me is that not only will it provide better trained individuals on these jobs and hopefully an ongoing supply of those trades, but on the short haul, it also provides for safety. The work that these individuals will do is far safer, and you know, we're dealing with children, so certainly we're very supportive of that type of work, and in this case of providing or making a resolution for this apprenticeship program. I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Let's just pass it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, consider approval of order authorizing the issuance of Socorro ISD Unlimited Tax School Building and Refunds Bond Series 2019. Mr. Reza.
Yes, Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Tonight we're requesting your approval to issue $150 million in unlimited tax building bonds and to refund $14.4 million of our 2010 series bonds. With us tonight are Mr. Jeff Robert from Hilltop Securities, the district's financial advisor, Mr. Paul Brayton from Norton Rose Fulbright, the district bond counsel, to present this information to you all. Mr. Robert, Mr. Jeff Robert, and Mr. Brayton, please come on up.
Who again? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, Jeff Robert with Hilltop Securities. As Mr. Reza mentioned, this would be the $150 million from the district's $448.5 million 2017 authorization. And he did mention a refunding. They won't be done at the same time. However, the refunding with the new tax reform, we can only do a refunding within 90 days of the call date on the bonds being refunded. So the earliest we could do that was October, but Mr. Reza thought it would be prudent to go ahead and get it on this agenda and then take care of it later on in the year. So I'll go through this presentation very quickly, and if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me. On page 2, just to give you, I think this is probably a pretty familiar presentation, but on page 2, just to give you an idea of where long-term tax-exempt interest rates are right now. This is the 20-year bond buyer index. The graph in the background there goes all the way back to the early 80s. And then you can see on the bottom right kind of where we are now. The blue shows what that index has done just over the last year. So while we're not at the lowest point, certainly we still are, from a historical perspective, at a fairly low point in terms of interest rates. This is really just kind of a summary sheet on this next page, on page 3. Once again, we did the $200 million early in 2018. The shaded blue area there, the $150 million of this authorization that you're this issuance that you're considering tonight. And then the remaining authorization we're talking about or thinking about issuing next summer, depending on what the construction cash flow needs are. For the interest rate, I've got it at 4%, which is 1/4% higher than where current rates are, once again trying to be conservative. You can see the blue line there. We feel comfortable we can stay below the 40 cents at the current 39.9 level. In column 5, we are using some INS fund balance. However, I feel like we're using some really conservative assumptions on tax base and average daily attendance, and if those assumptions do prove to be conservative, that number will go down. And once again, we'll be at the 39.9 or less. On the refunding, Mr. Reza had mentioned that the Series 2010, it's $14.46 million that's outstanding. 2020 to 26, so it'd be a very short refinancing. The interest rate's 3.25% to 4%, and that call date is February 15th of 2020. So once again, we'd be looking at that later on this year. The refunding itself, to be very conservative, I had run it at 50 basis points above current interest rates. So it would be considerably a higher amount of savings if interest rates remain close to where they are right now. So this is showing about $700,000. We would get over $1 million if rates stay at low levels. And then once again, like I said, I know you're all very familiar with the parameter process, but just as a refresher, it's allowed by new money under Section 1371, refundings under 1207. The board establishes parameters. So long as those parameters are met, either Dr. Espinosa or Mr. Reza can approve on behalf of the district and the board. The reason we do this, obviously, is market timing and flexibility. And note at the bottom, you have been doing this on all of your financings for quite some time now. And then the last page there shows what the parameters are in the order that Mr. Braden has prepared. Once again, $150 million of new money, 14.46 of refunding, maximum true interest cost of 4.75%, minimum savings threshold of 3% present value. Final maturity date on the new money would be 2044, which would be a 25-year issuance, and then we will not extend the maturity on the refunding. And then I have an appendix that I don't think there's any way that anybody would be able to see on the screen, but it's a long spreadsheet that gives you all of the detail of the district. I call it your debt pro forma per se, and just so you can maybe reference it later, I'll kind of go through it very quickly. Just working left to right, the tax base assumptions we're using in column 2. The pre-2017 authorization is in column 3. All of the IFA funding that you're receiving on that pre-2017 authorization, the projected IFA funding, is in column 5. Column 7 shows all of the EDA or existing debt allotment funding that you're projected to receive in column 7. The first issuance of the $200 million is detailed in columns 8 through 10, principal, interest, and total P&I. The blue shaded columns 11 through 13 show this upcoming issue that you're considering this evening. Column 14 through 16 shows that last issue in the summer of 2020. You'll note I haven't included the projected refunding in here just because I wasn't sure, what it might look like and didn't want to skew these at all. But the EDA funding that you're projected to receive on all of the new money issuances from the 2017 authorization is detailed in column 18. I will say we are submitting IFA applications for each one of these new money issuances, and kind of like we did back in 2011, 13, or 12 and 13, we applied way back then, and we finally got funding in 2017. Hopefully it won't take that long this time, but if we do get IFA funding on any of these issues, it'll be a big help in terms of preserving existing debt allotment funding capacity for future authorizations that the board and the district might consider. That $5.5 million is detailed there in column 19, and then you can see the tax rate in column 21. So a lot of numbers there, and I know I went through that very quickly. If you have any questions, obviously Mr. Reza can get with me to answer any questions you might have on that, since I know this is kind of springing this on you, quickly at the last minute here. And then the last page just shows the tax base and ADA assumptions that we're using. And once again, I feel like we're being pretty conservative with those.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Are there any questions?
Question. Mr. Robert, it's always a pleasure to see you because usually that means you're going to save us money.
Thank you.
What on the refunding issue, what's the current tax rate on them?
The current rate on those?
Interest, I'm sorry.
Interest range from, I believe, 3.25% through 4%. While it's 14 million's a lot, some of the refundings we've done in the past have generated more savings. And part of the reason it's not just size, but it's also because it's so short. Since this one only goes out to 2026, we're really only talking about a 6-year financing. Had it been a 20-year refunding, it would have been a lot more savings even at that same size, that $14 million. So that's kind of why it's a little reduced. And then, like I said, if rates will stay close to where we are now, and we're about 6 months away from doing that, we'd be up over $1 million on that one.
Right. Okay. And then of course, if they don't, we don't have to. If the parameters are not met, we simply don't move forward, right?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Ayub, seconded by Mr. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consider approval of TASB Update 112 and local policy. Ms. Macias.
Thank you to Vice President Rodriguez, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Administration recommends consideration and approval of the revisions to the policies. There's 10 policies from TASB Update 112 and local policies DP, EHDC, and EIE as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gándara, seconded by Mr. Guerra. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. This meeting is to be closed for discussion with legal counsel regarding pending litigation, including M. Melcher versus Socorro ISD, to receive and discuss the recommendation of administration to terminate term contract of RS teacher at Ernesto Serna for good cause, to receive and discuss the recommendation of administrative to non-renewal the term contract of E. Castro, assistant principal at Socorro Middle School, and to discuss personnel and real estate matters under Texas Government Codes, Section 551.071, Section 551.072, and 551.074. Our meeting is going to executive session at 8:12. We are back from executive session at 9:13 p.m. New business continued. Discussion and possible action regarding M. Melcher versus Socorro ISD. Mr. Blanco.
Thank you, Vice President Rodriguez, members of the board, Dr. Espinosa. I gave you an update on the status of the negotiations in the Mariela Melchor lawsuit. At this time, I need a motion from the board regarding the proposed settlement that I discussed with you in closed session.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Ayub, seconded by Mr. Nájera to deny the discussion and possible action. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding the recommendation of administration to terminate the contract of RS teacher at Ernesto Serna for good cause. Mr. Blanco.
Thank you. I gave you a summary of the matter regarding this particular teacher. He's on a term contract, and the administration, based on the events that I discussed with you in closed session, is recommending that we issue to him notice of the board's intent to propose the termination of his term contract for good cause.
So move.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Nájera, seconded by Mr. Ayub. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries.
Thank you. The last item on there we're pulling. We don't have a need for it anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. There no being any further business for this Board of Trustees, the meeting is adjourned at 9:15.